I am so excited about science for next year. We are actually going to be doing 2 different science programs, which sounds a little bit crazy, but there's a method to my madness. Stay tuned in case you're like, oh, how would you do all of that? I don't know yet exactly because I haven't done them both together, but I have a really good idea, and I have actually already kind of scoped out our whole year for next year to kind of give myself a good idea of how long everything will take. My name is Lauren. I'm a homeschool mom to 3 girls, soon to be 4 girls this coming summer. Next year, we will have a 6th grader, a 4th grader, a 2nd grader, and then a new little baby girl. So 4 girls. They love science. Well, 2 out of the 3 do. My middle one's like, not so much on science. But the other 2 absolutely love science. We've done a few different sciences, but the past 2 years we have done the good and the beautiful science units. And my oldest daughter, who is generally like, whatever, doesn't really have much of a say in her curriculum as far as she's not staunch about like, oh, I have to do this certain curriculum company. She was adamant, like this was the only thing she requested. Can we please do the good and the beautiful science? Like I really want to continue with that. So what we will be doing, let me see, I have so many resources here. So what we got from the good and the beautiful, again, this was highly requested. We have health in the physical body. My youngest loves the human body. She's been wanting to do the human body. Anytime there is ever a subject or a topic, she's always obsessed. So we got this one, and this is 3rd to 8th grade, but she's totally fine. She participated along with the sciences this year in 1st grade, and she was totally fine. So I got her the 3rd to 6th grade student journal that corresponds with this, coincides. And then my older one, she's in 6th grade, but she's just going to do the 7th to 8th grade journal. They're going to be the same thing, except the 7th to 8th grade journal has like an extension, so it just adds a little bit more information. And then the books I got to go with it are The Story of a Cold. This comes with the book pack with the good and the beautiful, and 50 Amazing Facts About Bones. This one has been on my list for a couple years now, and I just got around to getting it. The Cat in the Hat, Inside Your Outside. So we'll be doing that as like a human body, and I'll show in just a minute how it will correspond with the other science that we're going to be doing. So we're going to do that, and then we are going to do health in the human mind. Again, this is from the good and the beautiful, 3rd to 8th grade, but my 2nd grader will be doing this 3rd to 6th grade student journal, and my oldest will be doing the 7th to 8th. My middle one, she's actually going to be doing kind of her own independent science. I shared that she's just going to be doing the Evan Moore skill sharpener. So she may listen to this if she wants to, that's fine. If not, she's going to be doing her own science. And so that's just how we plan tentatively to work out. I'm not sure what next year will actually look like. But that's just the plan for now. Then the books to go with the health in the human mind is A Penny for Your Thoughts. So this is about like, I believe it's about, the girl has anxiety, a little bit of anxiety, and then not like major mental illness or anything, but just day-to-day things that our children, are faced with, that we're faced with too, let's be honest. And then this is the amazing thing called memory. And so I really, really wanted to take a good chunk of time to learn about the human body, the human mind. While it's great to learn things like the weather and meteorology and the clouds and geology and all that is fine to learn in science, our bodies are something that we live with every single day. We are going to be with our bodies for as long as we live. I think it's important to know how they function, about our brain, our mental health, our physical health. I am a dietitian, and so for me, this is super, super exciting. I might be personally biased, but I really just think it's important to have a really good understanding of that in our body systems. I also have Magic School Bus inside the human body. And then I have another Magic School Bus too about germs. We'll come back to that one. It's around here somewhere. I have way too many books. And then I got this for my daughter. She's already pulled it out. We've done the puzzle. It's a human body puzzle, and then a human body sticker book. She was like tore it open the next day. I was like, that's for next year, but she was already like way into it. Here it is, a book about germs. And then the other one I wanted to focus on was paleontology. My oldest daughter had requested that for her unit. So we're going to do the paleontology unit from The Good and the Beautiful. And again, 7th to 8th grade student journal for her, 3rd to 6th grade journal for her. And then I kind of wanted this to be a really, like, I wanted to delve deep. I want to preface this information by saying that The Good and the Beautiful does take a Christian approach. So they don't, they do talk about creation and things, but they don't take like an old earth or young earth approach. They leave that up to you as the parent. So I do appreciate that. You can kind of make it your own and kind of go with but they do have a creationist perspective. So just keep that in mind. Now, with that said, I am not like feeling like I have to completely shelter my children from reading about old earth. You know, that's all pretty much all the information out there, but I wanted to give them a perspective, like a different perspective about dinosaurs and prehistoric life, I guess, if you want to call it. And so I got a few resources. They're based on the Masterbooks. They have a paleontology course too, and I wanted to get that, but again, you just can't get everything. But I did take a couple of their books. So I got Dinosaurs for Kids. This is by Ken Ham. So these are going to be creationist young earth books. And so I just wanted to get it from a different perspective, because we've all heard, you know, there's so many resources out there with the old earth, and that's fine. I'm going to introduce that as well. But I just wanted to give them both. Dinosaurs of Eden. Did Adam and Noah live with dinosaurs? This is When Dragons' Hearts Were Good. And then this one looks so good. This one looks really amazing. This is called Dragons, Legends, and Lore of Dinosaurs. So I'm really excited about this. We're going to be doing this at the same time as we're learning about the Vikings, and we're going to be reading Beowulf. So that will all correspond together as well. And then this one is The Dinosaur Dig by the Berenstain Bears. And then I will also be doing, this is Life in the Great Ice Age. This is after Noah's flood, the earth and its climate were undergoing drastic changes. The stage had been set for the Great Ice Age. So I do want to touch on the Ice Age, but again, just from like a biblical perspective. And this will be kind of like a narrative of what this family, of what his day-to-day life looked like. So I think that will be interesting as well. All right, next is something we have never done before. I have seen it for years. Every single year I come back to the drawing board. I'm like, what should we do for science or history or whatever, the fill in the blank for the subject. And I always look up this company. And this year I was just like, yes, this will fit perfectly together. So we are actually going to be doing Sonlight Science C. And that is, it says for like around 3rd grade-ish. But it also said for ages like 8 to 11 or 7 to 10 or something like that. So it's going to cover a range of ages. So just keep that in mind. So this is going to be covering forces and interactions, life systems and cycles, weather and climate, and engineering design. If you know about Sonlight, you know that it's a literature-based program. And so they don't have like textbooks, but they are going to be just including different picture books throughout for their course. So the main spine is going to be Did You Know Science? This is amazing answers to more than 200 awesome questions. This is a DK book. So that's going to be, they're going to constantly refer back to this for every topic that they cover. And then they're also going to have the Usborne First Encyclopedia of Seas and Oceans. DK Weather. I Wonder Weather. This one is going to correspond with our human body, human mind. When we study that, I'm going to make sure that we're studying this as well. This is Traits and Attributes. Let's Relate Genetics. So this is going to be talking about the genetic portion of it. So I think that that's really cool. That'll kind of all interconnect. The Magic School Bus in the Electric Field Trip. Always got to love a good Magic School Bus book. Robots. My girls love National Geographic's So this is interesting. We've never learned really too much about this. So we'll do robots. This is Electric Wizard, How Nikola Tesla Lit Up the World. So this will be a picture book about him, so kind of like a biography. So I like that little touch. I also like this. I'm looking forward to this one. This is called Bringing Back the Wolves, How a Predator Restored an Ecosystem. So we'll talk about that one. What makes a magnet? And then fossils, tell of long ago. So they do cover fossils and dinosaurs briefly in this one. So we will, again, make sure I correspond when we talk about that with our paleontology unit. And this is going to be old Earth and millions of years ago. And Sonlight, I'll read it to you in a second, but I really appreciate their philosophy. You can get 4 or 5 days of science. So I can't speak, I've never used Sonlight before for any other of their history or any of their science, so I can't say. So, but we chose the 5 days, and for this specific Science C, it's just one extra book. It was the story of invention. So it's all different types of inventors. And so that would be the 5th day. So I don't anticipate just spending a whole day reading these. I'm going to throw this reading in on another day to kind of group it together. But I showed my daughter and she thought that looked interesting. And we like hearing about the when and the who behind things, inventions and things like that. And then it has Discover and Do. This is the paper for the science experiment. It has a big book of science experiments, and it's not, it kind of gives like a little prompt, an introduction to what the experiment is, and then detailed steps of the experiment, and then kind of like the outcome and what that represents. So it ties it in really well. So this is a full year of experiments, and the best part, which I'm like, oh, they give a science supply kit, because let's be honest, how many times have we sat down to do a science experiment and it's like, you need iron filings, copper wire. I'm just like, okay, we're not doing our science experiment today, guys. This comes with, I haven't even opened this yet, but it looks really cool. It comes with literally everything you need. Here's some marbles, like down to a marble, right? They don't just assume you have that in your house. They have cups, balloons, styrofoam cups. Ooh. They have like everything, a thermometer, even a feather. They've got straws. They've got cork in case you don't have a cork lying around your house. They have everything in here that you could need. Tape, masking tape, everything. And then there are some science supplies that you'll need, like paper towels, and they'll give you directions like next week you'll make sure you need these, but for the most part they give you everything that you're gonna need, and I think that that's lovely. And with Sonlight, make sure to check it out in the description below, because if you do, I have a link and you can get $10 off your order, which every penny helps, I think, is in my personal opinion. Every penny counts. So you get $10 off, and then I would get a $10 referral point system towards if I use Sonlight in the future. So just to put that out there for transparency, that's kind of how that would work. So it sounds like a lot, and it sounds like, oh my goodness, that's a lot. And if you feel overwhelmed right now by this and you're just like, wow, this is a lot. This is very overwhelming. I've been there, and there's been years where we just did very, very, very basic, bare minimum, bare bones science. If our first year, I don't even think we did science at all. And so, and next year might look totally different, but this year I just felt like I don't do anything that I feel like is too much. If I feel like, wow, this is too much, I just do what I feel like I'm comfortable with and I'm excited for, and my kids are excited for. And so this, I think, will be really great. And again, we might have to tweak as the year goes, and that's fine if we do. I'm not too worried about it. I'm not too stressed about it. But again, since we do science every single day, I think we'll be able to manage to get, actually, believe it or not, I think we'll be able to get most of this done. So this is what the instructor guide looks like. So again, this is 5-day. They do a welcome, And then they do evolution in the age of the earth. So I'm just going to read this because I really like this really quick. Some of the book selections in our science programs contain material supportive of evolution. Why do we include these books? First, we include them because the majority of the content in these resources is of high quality, offering visually and intellectually appealing material. Second, we don't take an isolationist approach to knowledge. The subject of evolution is not something we want to teach children to avoid or put down without adequate understanding. Third, as the dominant perspective in contemporary science, evolution deserves mention and attention even from those who disagree with its argument. With that said, we do our best to provide balanced perspectives in relation to any potentially divisive content such as evolution. Okay, so then it talks, keeping in mind things to keep in mind. And then the age of the earth, another issue that will come up in the course of study, has to do with the question of the age of the earth. Some will say millions or billions of years. You can just say the phrase a long time ago. If your children ask why there's a disagreement on the age of the earth in the universe, you can explain that not everyone interprets the data in the same way, and not everyone employs the same research method or believes in the same data. So I really like their approach to that, and I think it's important to not just send our kids out in the world and never having any concept or any clue what evolution is. So anyway, I just really like that. It kind of sums up exactly how I think and feel as well. Each individual family has to make that decision for themselves, but I think both sides should be presented just so that we can our children have some sort of knowledge. Anyway, so here is the book titles. This is the supply list that you would need. And then here we go. Here is a week. What a sample week. I'm going to just show like a middle of the week. Hold on. Okay, so this would be week 8. So first encyclopedia of seas and oceans, page 24 and 25. The next day, and then you would do these activity sheet questions, page, let me show you here. Numbers 1 to 3. So 1, 2, and 3, and that would be it. And then the next day, page 26 to 29, you would read that and do these questions. So the first 3 days you're reading and doing questions. Day 4, you're always doing the experiment. And then if you don't get a day 5, if you just get 4 days, that's it. Day 5 is that story of inventions, and it's just 2 pages. They tell you the supplies that you need. They give you some notes for each day. So here's each day has a few little notes in it, and then they give the answer key for the activity sheets, and then these are the activity sheets that come along with it, and that would be the week. So pretty simple, pretty straightforward. You absolutely can double these lessons up with no problem. I think that this would be pretty simple and straightforward to do. We will do the experiment on its own day, and I really enjoy that, so that way mentally I'm prepared, like, okay, I know this is the day I'm doing my experiments. And then the other days you're reading and just reading and just doing the activity pages. So here is the scope and sequence, and it lays out each week what they will be learning, and so there's all 36 weeks here. So I just went through this to see when they were going to be talking about like what would correspond with the good and the beautiful units. So like weeks 1 to 5, I'll do this, and then with the paleontology unit, because they're talking about like animal adaptations, fossils, food chains, things like that. And then starting week 11 to like 16, even 17 actually, is when I'm going to study this while we're doing the units from the anatomy units from the good and the beautiful. So the health and the human mind and the physical body. So when we're studying that, these will be our main units, and then these will be, I'll just take our time with this. And then when we're not studying the good and the beautiful units, I'm going to just be doing the extra lessons that don't really correspond. So, like, where is it? Like using electricity, electric currents, that we're not doing any units from the good and the beautiful for that. So I'm going to take those extra weeks, and that's when I'm going to like double up on lessons, because you saw how quick those are. You're literally reading like 3 pages and answering 3 questions, and my girls are much more capable of they can handle a longer lesson than that. So we'll easily double up lessons that day. I'm probably not going to double up on experiments, honestly, but the lessons themselves, the reading and the questions, we will make sure to get that done. And that will just make this go a little bit. So instead of all 36 weeks, there'll be weeks that we can get, that we can do in half that time. I went ahead and kind of scoped out how I wanted the breakdown to go between the Good and the Beautiful and Sonlight. So we have the first 9 weeks, we'll do Sonlight's week 1 to 5, and then the Good and the Beautiful paleontology. There's 11 lessons. So I've kind of broken it down into like what our days will look like. And these are general, like I'm not going to be sticking by this, like, you know, if it doesn't, something happens one day, then our whole week is, you know, thrown off. Like we can just pick back up. And then Fridays will be those extra books that I was showing you. And then that will be the paleontology unit. And like I said, that will include the Good and the Beautiful. And then weeks 10 to 16, this should lead us to about Christmas time. We'll just be doing Sonlight and doubling up on lessons. And then after Christmas, we'll come back, do the human body, and then just a few weeks of Sonlight. So we'll mostly focus on, we'll do 11 weeks of the human body. So mostly the Good and the Beautiful, with just a few days here and there of Sonlight. The extra books that I was showing you, we'll do those on Fridays, just to kind of have it, switch it up a little bit. And then we will finish out the last 5 weeks with Sonlight, because we'll have finished all of our units from the Good and the Beautiful, and then Sonlight we will just wrap up. And again, just doubling up those lessons on that day. And you'll see I have planned tentatively for 32 weeks, not 36 weeks. And that just gives me a little bit of time to, you know, in case life happens and things come up, it just gives me some few weeks of wiggle room. So hopefully you found this video helpful. And if you did like it, I would appreciate if you give it a thumbs up. Stick around and subscribe if you would like to, and I will see you again in my next video. Bye guys.